already. Spray and pray coming out. Two members locked up. Monsoon to heal the squad. Scout now trying to turn this one back to their favor, but EDG is in trouble because the Twitch is just going rampant. But Ziv gets taken down. Lucian going in, moving forward. Triple kill, but not enough. Quadra comes in for Twitch in the end.
Hello everyone and welcome to Worlds Tonight, our very first Worlds Tonight here live on stage after the first day of the group stages in Wuhan. I am joined by Crumbz and by Vedius. You guys didn't get to cast or be on the analyst desk yet today, so cool that you could join me for this one.
Yes, it is, because it was an awesome day one.
I was going to ask you guys, you got to kind of chill and watch in a relaxed way, obviously not biased at all towards one or the other region, Vedius. So
I'm not normally a fan of spicy food, but today I loved the spicy action that we had going on the Rift. We had a lot of great.
Well, you're going to get a return of that one compared to what happened to Europe from Vietnam.
Yeah, and also the question is, were there any upsets maybe outside of the last game of the day? Let's take a look at the standings first to see where we ended up, because a lot of the big stories of the day we can find back in the standings. Obviously, Korea is undefeated. Samsung, Longzhu, and SKT won their games. And Europe and NA didn't win any.
Yeah, there were no upsets, but we have yet to see Group B, and the feeling that I'm getting is that maybe Asia's becoming better and the West is just getting worse.
I don't know if they're necessarily getting worse, but I definitely think that Asia's getting better.
This seems a lot like every other year, man. It's been a lot of years like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest surprise upset was, of course, AHQ versus EDG. I mean, it was a really impressive game at the end of the day. The fact that it went so long, really enjoyable series. And then, of course, we had, I mean, Europe had a bit of a blip.
Well, let's take a look at one of those matches, maybe from Europe to start with. Fnatic versus the Gigabyte Marines, one of the best games of League of Legends we have ever seen.
The Marines.
Break it down, Crumbz.
Okay, the Marines deserve so much praise because, first of all, they have more courage than any other team to pick a composition that is completely against the meta. And in a meta that is so stale, you can afford to draft like this because you can expect what your opponent is going to play. And they just stick to their aggressive playstyle, and sure, they make mistakes, right? They die here and there, but they continue to jump in, and they just have their way with Fnatic.
And the biggest thing to praise the Gigabyte Marines for here is that they use a strategy which just takes advantage of experience. What you'll notice is the full jungle clear with the top laner, the fact that he was put at a deficit, but they still sat bottom lane. The whole goal of that was to get Nocturne level 6 as quickly as possible. This guy was level 6 at 5 minutes into the game. Meanwhile, the bottom lane was just free farming in the top. They were trying to maximize as much experience onto their core carries as quickly as they could. And when players like Levi and their new AD carry Noe get that kind of gold, they're able to just run away.
Yeah, Noe was denied a pentakill, though. That would have been something. But the Gigabyte Marines closed it out. And obviously, we saw the start of all this, you know. At MSI, they picked up 3-game wins in the group stage as well. So they seem to be off to a flying start. I saw a quote rather from their coach on Twitter saying, oh, we just want to show that there's another way that you can play the game. And Levi said in the interview, this was just the start. If you think this is interesting or aggressive, you wait and see.
Exactly. The implications that this team and this playstyle can have on the entire global scene is insane, because everybody's been always copying Korea. Oh, Korea all the time. But this team happens to be against the #1 seed, Longzhu. If they can actually crack Longzhu, that's going to shake up everything for years to come, because, as you mentioned, experience will now become like the way to play League, mathematical, looking at the numbers, what is the best way to do it. And
it's exciting. It's
so exciting. You can be like, oh, could League get more exciting? The Giga Marines are doing it, and they have guns in their logo. Nobody else has that.
Who would have thought, right, that we would be getting excited about lane swaps in 2017. We thought they were dead. We thought they were boring. Everyone was like, nah, we don't want that anymore. Get it out of the game. And Gigabyte Marines are like, we can make it fun. We can make it enjoyable. And they do, and they smash Fnatic. I mean, EU fans are crying at home right now. But it was a phenomenal game.
I do want to step in here, because we do have to look at the other side. Yes, Fnatic lost that game. That's bad, obviously. But it is a hard game to prep for, and they knew that going in, right? But no excuses. They should have still tried to do a bit more. Where are the opportunities?
Hold on, though. It was not a hard game to prep for, because there were so many opportunities. The global meta, what the Ardent Sensor meta is like, has been around for a while. You can look at a ton of odds from every other region. You know what's coming, and you know that if you look at that, you can expect, what are the Gigabyte Marines going to do?
Nocturne.
What is the anti-Ardent Sensor meta? Are they going to lane swap? Hey, they played lane swaps in MSI. They've done this before, and their own read on the meta was bizarre. First pick Varus.
Yeah.
Elise.
Yeah, the draft was a little weird
Yeah.
from Fnatic, and even individual mistakes we saw from a lot of the members of Fnatic. And I love the fact that when we were all talking in the cast room, it was very much like, oh, maybe he's just picking Varus so that he can win lane. Gigabyte Marine's like, nice trying to win lane if you don't have one, Reckless.
Okay, Crumbz, you're right. Actually, I was probably looking through a little bit of an EU-colored, sunglasses at the match, because we have to find silver lining somewhere. All right, but let's look at another match.
Those are the ones without glasses, right? Only ones.
All right, let's move on to another upset in the day. Even though I don't think you agree that Fnatic versus the Gigabyte Marines was an upset, but
Kinda, yeah.
Right,
I thought Fnatic would win, actually.
All right. Well, let's move on to EDG versus AHQ. That was the last game of the day. Obviously, EDG is the first seed coming out of the LPL. AHQ is not a team that we expected so much from. LMS hasn't been doing so hot recently, I would say, last year at Worlds, and we didn't expect that much from them specifically with an unchanged roster coming in, but they pick up that first win.
Yeah, and to give some context, when you look at both AHQ and the Flash Wolves, who coming into this tournament was their best comparison, a lot of analysts thought that the gap between the two teams was astronomical. That individually, their team play, everything was just going for the Flash Wolves that wasn't going for AHQ. So coming into a group with EDG, Cloud9, SKT, it's very natural to expect not a great performance from the team, especially when your sister team is EDG. This is the team, they're in their house, they're practicing with them, like they should be able to read them perfectly, and then they come into the game. And I felt like that it just stagnated. Neither team felt confident to try and make proactive plays, and neither team could really properly play around the vision, especially when it came to that Baron area. So I felt like it just culminated in big fights towards the end, and it was just about individual skill. Who could get that big outplay?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of wonky stuff for this game with the builds, but you talk about, well, the Bramble Vest, Corki.
On West Door.
Hope to never see it again, but the vision point that you make, I think teams have actually become worse at vision because now you're seeing Sidestones in the bottom lane 15 minutes in. You don't even have to think about, oh, let's group up together. Let's go try to set up something. You hit that mid game, the late game, and now that union that you established from the beginning of a game to get vision in an objective and try to secure it is no longer as refined as it used to be. You were kind of putting that part of your game plan, that union of jungle and support to acquire vision, in the back burner.
Crumbz, I understand. But in solo queue, vision isn't as important.
So you're saying Worlds is solo queue?
No, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is we've learned new things. Things like the Bramble Vest. Things about like...
So no wards, only Bramble Vest and Randuin's Zone.
Randuin's only
Bramble
Think about
Vest.
it. Like, you're basically going up against opponent. It's just like, why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself?
Yeah.
Why it's wonderful.
We gotta say, and even in the interview afterwards, HQ Ziv said, well, yeah, the Twitch had a lot of kills, but it was a smart adaptation out of EDG, and we saw them fighting back. iBoy, 20 competitive games. He did try and put the team on his back, but for a first seed and for Clearlove and EDG, Clearlove from Wuhan here, it must creep in again, that idea of, is this going to happen again? Hopefully not for EDG, but we'll see. What do you guys think?
I mean, you also have to remember that for EDG, I believe last year, their first loss was to INTZ as well, and then they pretty much smashed the rest of the group, right? Yeah. Aside from when they had to play that tiebreaker against H2K. But overall, for the last 3 years, EDG have consistently been able to make it to the quarterfinals. And I think that the first day of groups, people shouldn't suddenly explode in their perceptions of teams.
But that's what we do.
I know, but it's about how the team grows and how they continue their performance throughout.
They also were down 0-2 in the finals, in their summer finals, and came back 3 games in a row. So I think they can shake it off. They did look a little bit demoralized backstage, but I'm sure they can shake it off. We've seen players bounce back from
exactly.
way worse.
If there's a team that can do it, it should be EDG. Let's take a look at some more trends. We also had Longzhu taking to the stage, obviously the first seed coming out of Korea. They won versus Immortals, although it was a bit messy. We also had Samsung winning over G2. That was very convincing. So overall, a 3-0 on the day for all of them. Crumbz, who was for you the most impressive Korean team today?
I liked Samsung a lot because I was curious about Crown specifically. How well is he going to perform? You understand that Cuvée is going to be a beast, and he really was. Giving him Cho'Gath was maybe a mistake, but he had a great time. And so Samsung was impressive in that you know that they're going to play up against G2 that well. But when it came down to Longzhu and IMT, they're the one team aside the Gigabyte Marines that actually decided to go against the meta a little bit. No tanks on their composition. They try to deny the Jarvan away, and while it looked a little bit shaky at first, they were able to claw back quite easily.
My eyes were just sitting on SKT, like the man in the mid lane Faker was just impressing me beyond words. I feel like every year this guy keeps getting better and the team around him continues to improve too. Now, I wonder whether or not that was just C9 on the day not being able to properly challenge. To me, it felt like they still stuck to their playstyle and they still tried their best. It just came to a matter of...
That's their best?
Well, I felt like they tried.
Wow.
They tried, okay?
You got a low bar, man.
I'm trying to look at this from an optimistic lens because I still think that...
Right, the European lens, right?
But the thing is, I think that Cloud9 still has a lot of potential in the group, but for SKT, they're looking extremely dominant. And I think that playing through the mid lane is not the best avenue to try and win games.
You do know SKT's 18-2 all-time in group stage.
That's very true, yes.
In 3 years, they've only lost 2 games in group
Flash
stages.
Wolves as well, yes.
Yeah.
Crumbz came to play here at Worlds tonight. He's challenging.
You gotta bring the heat.
Yeah, we got to bring the heat. So the big question is, for us then, at least, and our realm of interest, specifically for the regions that we're covering, for EU, will they recover? Because Freddy, as you were saying, well, they always do bad the first week at Worlds, even though we're only day 1 in. But then which team do you see doing it?
So I think that expectations were that G2 would lose to Samsung. They're basically the younger brother of the team. They play exactly the same style, and Samsung just demonstrated their dominance. I think that right now, Europe should not be worried about G2. That was the expectation. You should start getting worried if they start struggling against RNG.
But they lost quite hard, though. Like if I think back over like the first matches they had against SKT also, and last year it was still more competitive. It seems like.
I feel like that right now, given the meta, you had 2 teams that literally play exactly the same way, and Samsung just has more experience and arguably stronger individuals.
Well, that actually brings up a point that maybe you just can't beat Korea if you try to keep playing Korean style all the damn time, right?
Marines,
every team keeps trying to, G2 and TSM, the #1 teams from Europe and NA, keep trying to play the Korean style. It's like, oh, we're going to go mid and late game. We're going to play them. Then they face up against them in the world. It's like, oh, wait, they've done this way better than us for years. We're trying to beat our master when you should be looking for the side road, the window. That's the Gigabyte Marines.
But for me, it's still very much like I am not worried about G2. I am a little worried about
You need to
Fnatic.
say it twice to reassure yourself.
Yeah, I do. Just like, don't be worried, guys. Just don't be worried yet. And we're still yet to see Misfits play. And I still think the Misfits could potentially be a big dark horse in that group. Definitely not the favorites, but they could cause a lot of upsets.
Well, let's take a look at tomorrow's schedule, because that is when we will see Group D on the plate. And you talked about adapting to Korea and whatnot. Well, luckily for TSM, they don't have a Korean team in their group. So that's a great start, Crumbz.
Yeah, but they're up against the Flash Wolves, and they have been consistently... Okay, not consistent. They have been good at group stages for the past 2 years. 2 years ago, they got out. They beat the Ku Tigers in the group stage. And then last year, they were able to be by far the best pre-20-minute team in getting an early game advantage. Okay, listen, I'm trying to...
Now who's looking at things through rose-tinted glasses?
All right. Stick it. I'm in between you guys. I'm catching it. But yeah, the Flash Wolves should never be underestimated.
Yeah, and I think from what the great thing is, initially this group was called the Group of Life, and I feel like every team that is in that group all thinks that from their own perspective. We can all actually make it out of this group. We just have to perform on the day. There's so many varying styles. There's so many varying individual talent. I think it's the most exciting, but also one of the most competitive groups of the.
Who's #1 in that group? You have your pick'ems. I think you put TSM first.
TSM
the Flash Wolves.
Flash Wolves first.
Yeah, I put Flash Wolves TSM.
I mean, you are the prophet, so we'll see.
I hope so.
But it's interesting that we both have TSM and Flash Wolves, because a lot of people credited to
World Elite,
Team WE to be sitting at the top 2, and it's just like, I feel the Flash Wolves are going to come into this tournament extremely prepared, and I'm very excited to see what they do. I think the legends of Maple and Casa will still reign strong,
So you can't
but
forget
also
Sword
Swordart, exactly that.
Well, LMS already has a win on the books with AHQ today, so we'll see tomorrow. Before we move on, I do want to talk about one more matchup we have tomorrow. 2 teams that lost today in NA versus EU, IMT versus Fnatic. Is anyone confident enough to call? I mean, you're...
Yeah, IMT.
I strongly believe IMT are the favorites in this match.
What specifically?
Why specifically? Okay, so when I look at teams... And
You only need one reason, okay? One reason. I know you have a list.
I
just
got a
one's
list. All right,
fine.
one reason. No, I got to give the list. So IMT was fundamentally better than Fnatic. They held on to what they thought was strong, and they dropped the ball when they came to playing against Longzhu. Longzhu just outpaced them, outclassed them when they came to playing that same kind of approach, because Longzhu's also a good early game team compared to IMT. They actually had a good approach. They camped bottom lane really hard, but Fnatic, what did they actually have that you could say was a positive? I don't think there was a positive in that game.
I think they got a Rift Herald.
Bright side.
Wow.
but also, I just think that there's a massive jungle mismatch right now. I think that Xmithy, not only does he have so much more experience than Broxah, but
Ezreal was...
His early game, Ezreal was okay.
Awesome.
He put a lot of good pressure, but his ults were really good.
It was, okay.
But then later on, he got caught out a lot, I admit. But I still think that just Xmithy versus Broxah, heavily in favor of Xmithy as an individual. I think that he was a big part as to why the team was able to have such a successful summer split. And I think that just the disparity between a veteran and a rookie is going to be a big factor that gives IMT.
Final thoughts.
Meta-wise, Brox is playing spring, and Xmithy's playing summer.
Yeah.
At least to Ezreal, get with the times.
Yeah. Get with the times, I guess.
It's really bad pick right now. It's
Well,
tank meta. That's tank meta.
I mean, you could say the same about your jacket, you know, to get with the times. No,
Wow!
I love it.
You complimented me on this earlier.
I did.
You
I saw the
complimented
burn.
me on
I
this.
saw the burn. Very sorry.
Wow.
And she really liked it.
All right, well, we're going to move on. Very interesting first day, and tomorrow we'll kick things off with the Flash Rolls versus TSM, so that'll be fantastic as well. That's going to do it from us from the first day of groups here in Wuhan, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.
I like your jacket. I'm just saying.